How's it going, fight fans? Welcome to Mindful Combat. If you're new to this channel, my name's Rohan, and it's my platform where I do MMA and boxing related content. If you're new here, why don't you help me grow my channel? All you have to do is hit the subscribe button, like the video if you like it, dislike it if you don't, and maybe get involved in the conversation in the comment section below. With that said, this is a fight that I'm very, very excited to break down, and that's the main event of UFC 245. Before we go into that, let's take a moment to appreciate just how stacked UFC 245 is. 3 world title fights to be heading off the card. Each of those world title fights could have main evented the card in their own right, and that would have been a very respectful main event. So this is absolutely insane. And meeting in the main event, we've got 2 of the best welterweights in the world fighting for the world title, and it's actually a beautiful moment because regardless how you feel about both of these gentlemen, love them or hate them, it's undeniable that they are the 2 best welterweights in the world and they should be fighting for the belt. So now we get to see them settle it and find out just who is the consensus #1 welterweight in the world. There's a very interesting fight, and I find these guys to be very similar to each other, and actually they do enjoy certain differences over each other and advantages, shall I say, but they are very, very similar in their fighting styles and approach to mixed martial arts, and that's what's very interesting about this fight. So to break this fight down, let's go through the tape. So firstly, their age. Kamaru Usman is 32 years old and Colby Covington is 31 years old. Very similar in age, not a big difference there. Both in the physical and athletic primes, they're both meeting at a great time in their career. Both seem to be peaking right about now, so it's a great time for them to be meeting. They both have a professional mixed martial arts record of 15 wins and 1 loss. Like I said, they're both very similar. They've also fought very similar level of competition. There's some differences there, but that's another thing that's very similar. Now, this is where things start to get a little bit different because Kamaru Usman is an inch taller than Colby Covington, stands at 6 foot tall. Colby Covington stands at 5'11", 1 inch height advantage, and in reach he enjoys a 4-inch reach advantage with a 76-inch to Colby Covington's 72-inch reach. So that's something that should be quite interesting to play out, especially when you consider these guys are quite similar. Maybe that slight bit of difference in size will make the difference for Kamaru Usman. Very interested to see this one play out. When we're talking about their styles, I've mentioned this a few times, but they're both pressure-heavy wrestlers that love to put you in the cage, love to grind you down, wear you out throughout the fight. They look better as the fight goes on, as their opponent wears down, and they both have stand-up as well. I would say that Kamaru maybe packs a bit more of a punch in his stand-up, whereas Colby Covington is maybe a little more polished with his stand-up, but they both have their, a very similar style. I think these are both very, very... comparable fighters in a lot of ways, and actually that's why they've had similar results against similar opposition, and the fights have looked very same, very similar when they fought the similar opposition. So that's a bit of a tongue twister. I'm saying similar far too many times, but okay, let's move on from that. The key wins. Now for Kamaru Usman, his key wins will be over guys like Damian Maia. He's beaten Tyron Woodley to win the world title in what was his career-defining performance. It was absolutely exceptional. What a beautiful performance that was. He's beaten Rafael dos Anjos, and he's of course beaten Leon Edwards, infamously named by Colby Covington as Leon Scott for some reason. But yeah, he's also beaten Leon Edwards. Actually, Leon Edwards last lost before Edwards went on the 8-fight win streak, so that's something for us to remember. For Colby Covington, his wins include the Robbie Lawler's most recent win, which was a great win over a former champion. He actually showed his stand-up in that fight, which was... it looked pretty good, I must admit, and he's also beaten the likes of Rafael dos Anjos to give him his first loss at welterweight when he had 1 in a row. Before that, he had beaten Damian Maia, and he's also beaten Yushin Okami, who I respect a hell of a lot. The issues for Kamaru Usman is, I believe he's a bit emotionally charged. I think Colby Covington does well in that emotionally charged environment. I think Colby Covington's been able to get some space in Kamaru Usman's head, and I think that may impact Kamaru Usman coming into this fight. And for Colby Covington, I think the issue that he's going to face in this fight is that even if he is able to win the exchanges with Kamaru Usman, I don't believe that he necessarily packs the power to be able to hurt Kamaru Usman, and that means that Kamaru Usman is going to be more inclined to throw back or get in his face, and he'll be more than happy to engage in those exchanges because the real threat of the knockout doesn't appear to be there with Colby Covington. He's a great fighter, but if there's one thing that you can kind of point out about Colby Covington is that he's not a knockout artist, and now will that favour Kamaru Usman? But it's something to consider. Overall, if it matters, we'll see. The X factor for Kamaru Usman is definitely going to be, I believe that he's the stronger of the 2, and as I mentioned, he carries more punching power, and the X factor for Colby Covington is going to be the mental edge that he seems to be enjoying coming into the fight, because Kamaru seems to be really annoyed or pissed off at Colby Covington. And as with every fight, I would normally say with Colby Covington is cardio. I'm not sure that applies to Kamaru Usman, but very interested to see it play out nonetheless. Let's get into the prediction. So this is a very tough fight for me to call. I see this as a 50-50 fight if there ever was one. This is the most 50-50 fight I have ever seen in my life, just because these both are very, very similar. They've got the same record, they're about the same age, they've got the same style, they've got almost the same key wins. It's very, very hard to pick this fight. Where the differences are is in A, the strength of Kamaru, and B, the slightly more polished stand-up of Colby Covington. How does that impact the fight? Now, I think Kamaru, although he does hit harder than Colby Covington, I don't think he's a very heavy-handed knockout artist or nothing like that. To my mind, he's only got one knockout, and that's over Sergio Moraes, who I don't rate very highly. Colby Covington is not that caliber of competition. It's very interesting when looking at this fight to consider what may happen and how it may play out, but I actually feel like it's going to be very back and forth for the first 2 or 3 rounds. But I think Colby Covington is going to start to eke out when we get into rounds 4 and 5, because I believe with his polished stand-up, slightly more polished stand-up, shall I say, stand-up, he's going to start winning exchanges, and as his cardio doesn't fade, although Kamaru Usman, I say, in my opinion, does have great conditioning, I would say I would give that edge to Colby Covington. I would say later on in the fight, Colby Covington's combinations are going to be finding home a lot more, and then he's going to be, kind of starting to get away in that edge. And obviously the anger, the animosity that Kamaru Usman is carrying into this fight is going to have a wearing down effect on Colby Covington as well, so I'm very interested to see how that impacts it. So fight fans, for my official prediction for this fight, with no confidence whatsoever, I'm going to pick Colby Covington to be able to get the unanimous decision after eking away the last 2 rounds and picking up a round or 2 in the first 3 in what should be an incredibly competitive fight. I will not in any way be surprised if I'm completely wrong here. I'm actually rooting for Kamaru Usman, so I'll actually be very happy to be proven wrong here. But I feel like, as an analyst, I have to lean on Colby Covington to get the W, guys. So fight fans, why don't you comment below? Let me know what you guys think, and let me know how you guys see this fight going. Let me know what you thought of my breakdown. Sorry I couldn't give you guys a more definitive pick in this one, but it's a really hard one for me to call, and that's just my opinion on how I see it going. Thank you for watching, guys. I'm Rohan, and this is Mindful Combat.